Okay. Thank you to everybody for joining us. I'm MTA Chairman and CEO Jano Lieber, here with Construction and Development President Jamie Torres Springer, Long Island Railroad Interim President Kathy Rinaldi, and we're thrilled to welcome the Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin as we celebrate this milestone today. I called you only the Long Island Railroad President. That was a slip. Long Island Railroad and Metro North President Kathy Rinaldi. Today we're giving you an inside look at the ongoing reconstruction of Penn Station as we remove, this is a milestone, we're removing the low-hanging beams that we at the MTA lovingly call the head knockers. Everyone who uses the Long Island Railroad concourse at Penn knows them and hates them because they prevent us from having any human-size head height. These are the main culprit in making Penn feel so dungeon-like, among other culprits, in making Penn feel so dungeon-like and so unappealing for human beings. These 10-ton beams are actually original to Penn Station, but they're now obsolete because we finished a new structural support system to carry the load of the traffic above. Removing the head knockers is key to our plan to create a new Penn Station that can truly be a grand entrance for New York, one filled with sunlight, that's accessible, fully accessible to all, and a lot more like the original Penn Station, which we all admire and which is so much missed by New Yorkers. It will replace the cramped, dingy labyrinth that we've known since the 1960s. We're already getting started on this transformational effort. There's a lot of talk about fixing Penn Station, and Governor Hochul has been upfront about prioritizing fixing existing Penn because the New Yorkers, that's where the New Yorkers have to travel. But we're already getting started. You saw, as you may have seen on the west end of this corridor, the incredible new entrance that we built off of 7th Avenue. That was all done during COVID, including glass that was coming from northern Italy in the middle of the pandemic, an incredible achievement on budget and on schedule. But now what you're standing in is the second half of the doubling of size of the corridor. Thanks to a deal that we made with Vornado, who was operating the retail on this corridor, if you remember the Shake Shack and the Starbucks and other retail establishments, we are literally pushing the retail back 30 feet so that the New Yorkers who use the Long Island Railroad, who use the 7th Avenue subway, who use the 8th Avenue subway, who are on their way to Moynihan in many cases, have a better place to move that's more open and more human scale. Now, we have a rare opportunity, a window of opportunity to really change Penn, and it's coming up very, very soon. When we open East Side Access at the end of 2022, that opens the door for significant construction to go on in Penn, structural construction. Why? Because roughly half of the Long Island Railroad commuters in service is going to move over to Grand Central when East Side Access opens. Then we have to get that work done between the end of 2022 and roughly 4 years later when we're going to be welcoming Metro North into Penn Station as a result of the Penn Access project, which turns the Amtrak Hellgate line into a mass transit line and establishes 4 new stations in the Bronx. So we got to get the work done in that 4-year period. Also, we have Moynihan now, another place that is more appropriate for New Yorkers to use who want to use the Long Island Railroad while we're getting the work done. We're not going to let this moment slip by. We cannot let this moment slip by. You've seen what we've done so far. I've talked a little bit about it. And we're ready to make this project that you're seeing part of the much more ambitious transformational vision that Governor Hochul has laid out for Penn Station. She has been a fighter and a champion for changing Penn Station since almost immediately after she stepped into the governorship. There's no reason our riders should have to wait longer. New Yorkers, who ride the subway, Long Islanders, New Jerseyans who are using Penn Station through NJT, and eventually Connecticut commuters who will arrive, as I said, through the Penn Access Project on Metro North into this station. The need is urgent. Together, the 8th and 7th Avenue subways represent the first or second largest subway complex in the system, along with Times Square, depending on what you count. That is proof that this is not just a commuter rail station, this is a mass transit facility that New Yorkers need to be able to move through and be comfortable in. So, as I said, the state has been extraordinary in its leadership on this issue with Penn Station, so it is a great pleasure to be able to welcome to the podium Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin.
Thank you, Jano. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to give a special shout out to my brothers from the laborers, Local 731, for their hard work. When we talk about being on time and on budget, they're the ones helping to get the work done. So I want to thank them for all of their hard work. Absolutely. Give them a round of applause. Now, as a lifelong New Yorker, it was a special treat for me just now, Jano, to actually, for the first time, come down through 7th Avenue right before I entered here, and I couldn't help but think about a song. I mean, now, this is before your time, Jano, so I'm not sure if you're going to remember this song, but it was a group called Fifth Dimension, and they had a song called Aquarius/Let the Sun Shine In. Anyone familiar with that song? And I could, yes, let the sun shine. And that is what we're doing. We are letting the sun shine in, and we are going to make sure that Penn Station is a place where commuters can actually feel good when they come here. You know, many people they go to work, they get up early in the morning, they take their kids to school, and we should make sure that their experience is a pleasurable one. And it's particularly as we're coming out of the pandemic, an important priority for all of us. And so we want to make sure that we celebrate this huge milestone. And Jano, under your leadership and under Governor Kathy Hochul's leadership, we are going to have a reimagined Penn Station that is consistent with some of the needs for the neighborhoods. And that's something that is a big priority. You're leading the charge on building a gateway to our city and beyond, a Penn Station that New Yorkers can be proud of. Thank you for taking on this task with your amazing team, and let's get it done. You know, listen, everyone knows Penn Station. It is the busiest public transport hub in North America. Before the pandemic, my understanding, 600,000 people traveled through Penn Station every single day. But by 2038, we predict that number will rise to 890,000 people coming through this exact same footprint. We need to make sure we're prepared for what that looks like. You know, we are going to deliver a rider-focused transit experience and a great neighborhood for everyone. And that is what today is all about. So, when the last of these giant head knocker beams, each of which weighs 10 tons. By the way, no one knows what 10 tons feels like. It just sounds like a whole lot. We say these words, whether it's 8 or 10, that is a lot of weight, is removed. New Yorkers will finally be able to be greeted with higher ceilings. You know, 18-foot ceilings, 35-foot ceilings, that starts to feel good. Double the corridor, right? That's the kind of experience that we're looking to give, and I'm excited. And we're going to get it done on time and on budget. How exciting is that? That is what we're here for, and I'm excited. But the removals of the beams is just the beginning, my friends. There's going to be more room for all when we widen the corridor. We'll double the width, and we're going to add new entrances and build new stairways and elevators to platforms so there's direct sight lines to the track level. And Governor Hochul and I are committed to making sure that we're going to put commuters first, and we're going to ensure equitable transit access in every decision that we make. That is why we announced the Interborough Express. That's why we're building a bold new Penn Station. By modernizing Penn Station, we are going to demonstrate our commitment to our commuter experiences, Long Islanders using the LIRR, New Yorkers sharing the subway system, and future customers who will take the Metro North from the Bronx and Westchester when Penn Station access is completed. The work won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do, and we'll get it done together. And at this time, I'd like to bring up to the stage Jamie Torres Springer, President of MTA Construction and Development, who is leading the charge. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you for your inspirational leadership. It's such a pleasure to work with you and your entire administration. I want to thank the chair and my colleagues. The new Penn Station will be something that all New Yorkers can be proud of. It'll be a beautiful new gateway to New York City. The Lieutenant Governor's already described exactly what we're doing here by raising the ceiling, by widening the corridor, but particularly also new entrances, new stairwells, new elevators to track level, which increase those sight lines. That's what creates the feeling of a great station that people feel comfortable in. It all starts with removing these head knockers. There are 7 of them. The first was removed last week. We're scheduled to remove the next one today. That's what we're starting on. And this weekend, we'll start the process to remove the last head knocker, and then you'll start to see that area open up. I want to emphasize on behalf of our team, this was a very complicated feat of engineering. We had to remove the previous structural roof and replace it with a secondary structure that supported not only the street, but also Madison Square Garden, all without shutting down 7th Avenue, and all by operating the busiest train station in North America. And that's one of the things that's really amazing about this project. We come in here, this is an extremely clean work site. The passenger flow is working very well outside. It's not just because we're here having a ceremonial event today. This is what this site is always like, and it's really a tribute to our team for doing such good work. In order to build that new roof, we had to move and upsize the gas main on the street, the water main, in new utility boxes, and I think as someone who knows what that's like, it was done in record time and with extraordinary efficiency. So I want to really thank our construction manager, WSP, our contractor, Skanska, our team led by Jolien Handler and Matt Zetwalk, a lot of other people that I'm not going to be able to name, but they're doing an incredible job, and they're bringing this project in on time and on budget. The last thing I'll say is, as the chair said, this really points the way toward the future of Penn Station. This is 20% of Penn Station. The other 80% can and will look like this, with these wide, capacious corridors, with the room under the ceilings for people to feel comfortable, with the improved entrances. And that's really what we're about here, is improving Penn Station overall, and this points the way. So thank you, and I want to turn things over to my colleague, Interim LIRR President Kathy Rinaldi.
Thanks, Jamie. I'm really happy to be here at the dawn of the age of Aquarius. The reconstruction of Penn Station all goes back to one thing, which is improving the customer experience. We've been hearing for decades about how riders dread coming to Penn, and they had good reason. Now, when this work is done, Long Island Railroad customers will finally be coming into a station that's a worthy alternative to Grand Central. And as Jano said, the benefits will extend beyond Long Island, eventually to Metro North customers when Penn Station access goes live in a few short years. As president of both railroads, I'm eager to improve connectivity between Long Island Railroad and Metro North so that our riders can take full advantage of the MTA system and all that our entire region has to offer. 2022 is a big year for the Long Island Railroad, probably the most important in this agency's history. The concourse work is slated for completion later this year. East Side Access and Third Track is on track to be completed by the end of the year. These mega projects are a critical part of our plan to get riders back to public transportation. They allow for better connectivity, more frequent service, and an overall more pleasant experience for our riders. The MTA is doing everything that it can to make our system as attractive as possible. Just last week, we launched new fare promotions. We have state-of-the-art ventilation systems to prevent COVID transmission, and round-the-clock cleaning continues, and so on. We cannot wait to deliver Penn to our customers and give New Yorkers yet another reason to come back to the MTA system. Now I'm going to hand it back to Jana for some question and answers. Thank you.
Who's going to moderate Q&A? Aaron. Well, why don't we just do the Q&A and then we'll do it.
Thank you for the first question. Jano, I wanted to ask a little bit about some of the criticism that has come up against the larger Penn Station plan from government groups about transparency and to show exactly why this real estate development around it is needed to fund that. When does the MTA plan to release more details from your side of the plan and to kind of show how that money would fund that project and why it's necessary.
Well, again, Kevin, I think your question, you stated it correctly. The real estate issues are being handled through the land use process, in effect, a rezoning process that the state has undertaken. So we're trying to move forward with Penn. The message of today is, under Governor Hochul's leadership, we are moving forward with fixing Penn, not waiting for Amtrak, not waiting for the Gateway project, not waiting for many other things. However, what that rezoning, that GPP project delivers is significant in the long run for the transportation viability of this entire complex. It's going to mean that there are underground concourses all around the neighborhood that are going to improve. Everybody who comes to Penn knows there's pedestrian gridlock on 7th Avenue, all times of day. So having underground concourses that can move people to and from other subway lines, up and down 7th Avenue, and help people to move around quickly is a huge benefit. Also in that plan are entrances, new entrances to Penn. We're working here to make existing Penn work and be a great place. But it would be even better if, like Grand Central, there were lots more entrances, north, south, east, and west. So that vision in the GPP, the rezoning plan that the state is working on, really delivers significant transportation benefits to the Penn complex as well. And last, not least, it also will help to advance the ultimate expansion consistent with the Gateway program. As you know, the Gateway program that the city is, the state is working on in tandem with the city and New Jersey and Amtrak. So for all those reasons, while we are not waiting for the land use issues to try to prove existing Penn, it is really beneficial to the overall complex. Clayton.
I got two for you, Jano. Last time we were down here with you, you showed us all this office space that Amtrak was occupying and said we're going to move them across to Moynihan in order to execute your vision for Penn Station. Has Amtrak moved out of those office spaces? Do you have an agreement? Are they out of there? What's the timeline on that?
Yeah, the governor, last time we were down together, that was the day that the governor of the state of New York said that she wants to prioritize fixing existing Penn, not to wait for any other process, whether it's Amtrak or New Jersey Transit or Gateway, which is scheduled to take 15 years. What she has said is that in order to really turn this existing station, where the New Yorkers come, into something great, we really need to be able to scoop out all of these offices that are taking up space and making the corridors narrow and put them upstairs, where Amtrak is vacated. So that is the vision, and we've showed images again and again and again of what this place could be with a triple height ceiling, more like Moynihan, a facility that had an open space the size of Grand Central plus Moynihan, much bigger than the existing Great Hall of Grand Central. That can be accomplished, but it requires first that Amtrak and some others move out of mechanical rooms, move out of those back of house spaces, and move them to the upper level, which is now mostly vacant because Amtrak moved across the street. So in answer to your question, we've laid out that vision. Governor Hochul's been very strong on that vision, but the negotiations are ongoing to try to get everybody on board for that to be realized in construction.
And then while I have you, I wanted to see if you wanted to comment on the city's planned changes to the stipulated parking fine program that reduce the fines that truckers and delivery companies have to pay for blocking your bus lanes. That's a big issue for you guys.
I know, but I'm going to stay on topic, and we'll ask Aaron to talk to you after about that discussion. We're going to stay on topic.
Hey, Jenna. You said this project's on time and on budget. Can you remind me, when did it start? When do you expect it to be completed? What is the total cost? You said some private developers are paying for it. So how much are they paying? How much is the MTA paying? And what percentage of the station will be less rat maze-like when it's complete?
Okay, so I think, some of those questions are going to require me to actually go back and talk to the team and check numbers. I believe it's a $600 and something million project altogether. It includes both the entrance that you see that's already built and this expansion and radical improvement of the main spine between 7th and 8th Avenue. I mean, yes, between 7th and 8th Avenue. I will give you the exact number, Steve. The schedule, it was scheduled to be completed under our, we did the procurement. Skanska was the general contractor. It was scheduled to be completed in early '23. We are now working with Skanska, taking advantage of some incentives that we have put in the contract to have it even before the scheduled completion date. And yes, it is on budget, and we will provide the exact number to you. The percentage, the exact percentage, I think you heard from one of my colleagues, Jamie, that it's 20% of the total space. What? A little less than 20. It's just under 20% of the total station. But again, the governor has been really strong, and Lieutenant Governor is here to just underscore the leadership support we have for the idea that we need to finish the job. We need the rest of Penn Station to be of the similar caliber to Moynihan and Grand Central. We have a plan. She's ready to execute it. But this is a start. This is roughly 20%. It is, if you want to be, just practical, it is probably the most important spine because it's where everybody moves east to west and coming in and out of subways and so on.
Okay, moving to Newsday.
Alfonso?
Hi, Jano. So similar to something that was asked before about the GPP above ground, there are these preservationist types that are very down on what's proposed. They talk about how it'll destroy the character of this community, beginning with the Hotel Pennsylvania, which is now being demolished, 100-year-old building, going to be replaced by a tall skyscraper and 10 others. What do you say to folks who again, are concerned about what happens to the surrounding community and this area with all its history really losing that character and being replaced by these tall, soulless glass skyscrapers?
Okay. Listen, you just remember who you're talking to, the guy who spent 14 years rebuilding the World Trade Center, the office buildings. But listen, the GPP is being run by ESDC under the governor's leadership. It is a land use process. The MTA is not in charge. But I will say, again, speaking for myself, as part of this bigger plan, there are really important reasons to do an appropriate rezoning of this neighborhood. Okay? One is climate change. It is an absolute necessity that we put our jobs next to the best mass transit. We have to encourage the use of mass transit, and that means putting modern office buildings next to the best mass transit. As the Lieutenant Governor said, this is the center of New York's mass transit network, especially for Long Islanders that you speak to, Alfonso. So putting modern office buildings, New York has among the oldest office stock in the United States. It is, again, putting aside the issues of historical character and preservation, the reality is we have very old office stock, and if we want to compete for jobs, especially the first-class jobs of the 21st century, we need modern office buildings, and putting them next to the best mass transit is a climate change necessity, and it's an economic development necessity. It's also just good planning because it gives you an opportunity to do what everybody talks about, which is value capture. Really, the vision of the governor's plan is to capture the value of those sites so that, unlike the 2nd Avenue subway, where we built a brand new subway and all the extra value from that investment went to people who, random owners along 2nd Avenue, instead, we can capture some of that value and use it to pay for the infrastructure. That's in the public interest, okay? So climate change, putting jobs next in the era of congestion pricing, putting jobs next to mass transit for economic development. There are really strong policy reasons that underlie what the governor and ESDC have outlined. They've also shifted the plan very appropriately to include more housing and more public space, because this is a very important public space area for the city. So, again, I'm not speaking for the governor, not speaking for ESDC, but as somebody who's worked in the area of development and infrastructure and policy, I think it's a plan that really deserves serious consideration, and we're hoping that they continue to make progress. Finally, as I said before, it's the only way we're going to get underground concourses and new entrances to Penn. Those are really important from a transit standpoint as well.
And I think we have time for
one more
over
question.
there.
Okay, I just have a few questions for you,
Yeah.
Jenna. Lisa Daplian reminds me that this is the former Kmart.
Yes.
I'm
Do you
wondering.
miss being able to buy a fishing rod in Penn Station? Is that your question?
Well, right, exactly. I mean, what kind of retail would you like to see, specific to New Yorkers who are coming through here? It's not necessarily tourists that are coming through
Yeah.
this space.
I think it's a really good question. Look, I spent a lot of time at the World Trade Center, and it's no secret that the retail at the World Trade Center struggled because it wasn't really geared effectively towards the commuter population. So, it was very successful. The retail that was here in the space that we're standing right now was really successful. They had a Shake Shack, they had a Starbucks. I mean, it was stuff that spoke to what folks on the run, commuters needed. There was, I think, there was a Duane Reade somewhere in this. I mean, practical stuff. So I'm not the one who's going to make those decisions, but I'm confident that the greatest value will be in taking advantage of the fact that commuters are here and that they need, support for being on the move, food, everyday necessities. Grand Central, which the MTA does lease, is among the most successful facilities in the country in balancing. It's got some great fashion, it's got food, it's got practical stuff. So we're looking at a similar balance. Obviously, that's going to be done by Vornado as the private sector developer of the retail.
Okay, and just on the topic of the president banning all imports of Russian gas, as you know, the prices are
I think I'm going to pass on that one and stay on topic.
But I just wanted to know if you think that it will increase ridership on the commuter lines with fewer people driving in.
Obviously, there's some impact. The cost of driving, if it does get higher, will have, create some incentive, some additional incentives. We think the incentives for people to take mass transit are much bigger than just cost. It's good, climate change. It's having time, to catch up on your texts and your emails. It's all kinds of freedom. It's not having to pay parking. There are a lot of good reasons not to drive. And in fact, 90+% of commuters don't drive. So I think we're in the right direction. Amanda, are we done? Okay, thank you, everybody. We're done. Yeah, we're done. Yeah.
Where was that?